Welcome to the AVNI Interviews. We're your hosts, Eric Bork and Mikey Taylor.
What up?
We're the co-founders of AVNI, a brand for interviewers.
It's close.
I'm just coming up with stuff off the top of my head.
I knew I blew it when I told you I think you're going to nail this one.
Let's just keep going.
That's fine with me.
A
Keep
brand
going.
for entrepreneurs and influencers. And today we have a guest. We have an exclusive. We have a power guest who has done lots of stuff that you've heard of, and you've probably seen him before, but co-founder of St. Archer Beer, co-founder of, are you co-founder or founder of Villager?
Co-founder.
Co-founder of Villager. His name is Josh Landan, and Josh, we are stoked to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
All right, dude.
So this is a pretty special one for me. Josh is not only one of my closest friends, but mentor slash what else can I call it? Just Josh has done incredible things, and he's not the one that goes in front of the camera often. So to have him here on our podcast is not only a big deal for us, but I think you guys will get a ton of information out of him. And let's kind of bring it back to before I met you.
Yeah.
And you were making surf films.
I was. I still am. Now I just kind of fake it with these businesses, but I was born and raised in Ventura. So like if you're in Ventura and you don't kind of live around the beach or are surfing by, your mid-teens, and it's kind of weird, grow up playing sports, and I did all that. And I knew early on the pro surfing thing was for sure not happening for me. It was not an option, not going to happen. So my hero was Taylor Steele, because he was, you waited 2 years for his films to come out, and the Malloys, they lived in Ventura at the time. And, you had Tom Curran in Santa Barbara and Timmy and Josh Curran in Oxnard. And it was kind of like, it's like one of the best areas in surfing's history in California for pros to come out of there. Right. So,
Which I'm surprised I never met you growing up.
Yeah,
I was in Ventura.
I was there.
I didn't
so
know him
funny.
either. Yeah, I didn't know him either.
Yeah, back then though, like with surfing, it's not like it is now, where you live in Simi Valley and you check Surfline and then you go to Pierpont. That doesn't.
I remember.
It wasn't like that back then. So like it wasn't like you either surfed in Oxnard, or it's funny, like growing up in Ventura, I never surfed Oxnard Shores or Silver Strand. Ever. Like I never even thought to go there. The first time I ever filmed Timmy Curran, he had to tell me where Oxnard Shores was.
No way.
That's totally true story. And it's literally 10 minutes. Like, keep going down. You're going down Harbor. Keep going.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, never been there. Just never thought to surf outside of Ventura.
And you heard the story about when we first met, right?
I've heard a few.
So the very first time that we met in real life, we had a friend introduce us, and Josh is like basically telling us about this idea he has about wanting to do a skate video, right?
Right, yeah.
And like, I'm like not really paying attention at all. Like I'm just like, okay, whatever. And he goes, so look at this video I've done. And he shows me the surf videos, Union Express, which was like the video I had on repeat for 6 months prior to meeting with him. And I saw it and I'm like, that's Union Express. And he's like, yeah, I made it. And I was like, oh, dude, I love you. And then from then on, it was like.
And at that point in your career, you were probably like blowing him off. Huh?
That's fully. Oh yeah, the day
He for sure was.
The day that we went down to San Diego, right, where like the whole thing happened with St. Archer, I tried to blow him off for 3 days before the trip. Tried to blow him off.
True story.
Yeah.
So Josh, you made some actually pretty legendary surf films. I mean, obviously you're not going to say it like that, but tell us about some of the films you made.
Yeah, I made a film called Flow on Al Merrick, the surfboard shaper from Santa Barbara, on his story. And it was really like he's the father figure to Kelly and Tom Curran and all this generation of surfers, right? So I made a film on that. We won a lot of film festivals and it did well. Sold a lot of DVDs. It was a 3-pack DVD. Remember those days when you actually made money making movies?
So coming up as a filmmaker in surf, was did you have an easy come up? How was the come up?
No, it was hard.
Tell me about that.
It was hard because I didn't know anybody. Kind of like when I did St. Archer, I didn't know anybody in the beer business, but like making movies, I didn't know them. I just knocked on the Malloy's door with a video camera.
You literally did that? Knocked on the door?
Dude, I am not exaggerating. I knocked on their front door. Their dad, Mike Malloy, the Malloys they grew up in Ojai, but they grew up and then they were in the Keys. and I knew which house was theirs. And Mike Malloy would do like ding repair of all like the neighborhood kids' surfboards, right? So I would drive by. And then when Mike finally had the garage door open and he was like doing ding repair, I like stopped my car, got out. I'm like, where do your sons live?
No way.
And then I walked down the street. They lived on Peninsula, and I knocked on the door. And then
said, "Can I film you?" Or?
For 4 straight months, I showed up at the beach.
Yeah, but they said no the first time.
They said no for 4 to 6 months. And I showed up at the beach at 6 a.m. at Rivermouth every single day, sat in my car, just waited for them to show up. And then,
so there was a little persistence.
So then finally, Keith Malloy, Taylor Steele was making a new movie called Loose Change. And Keith Malloy showed up at Rivermouth and the waves were firing and I filmed it. And he said, hey, did you get those? And I said, yeah, I got all of them. And he said, let's go back to my house and watch it. And I'm like, holy shit. I mean, I think it was in focus. I'm like, and so we went back to his house. We watched it together. He was like, dude, you know what you're doing. Great. He called Taylor Steele and was like, I have a kid.
No way.
That can film me and my brothers and Timmy up here. Right. So he said, you should call Taylor Steele. And I went, you mean me? Like it's the only time I've ever been nervous in my entire professional life. Seriously.
Wow.
And I was like this. Called him, hi Taylor, it's me. Dude, it was ridiculous, right? And he said, come down to Solana Beach and show me your footage. And I went down to Solana Beach and sat in Taylor Steele's edit bay at Poor Specimen and watched my surf footage, and he like critiqued it, and then away I went. I filmed Loose Change, and
some of those videos won, if I remember correctly, Transworld Awards, or
they had the X Dance Film Festival was a part of Sundance. Okay. It was like the outdoor films from. I won that back-to-back years with Flo and Against the Grain, the film I made on Tara Dakitis. She was a pro snowboarder.
Nice.
But like the surf stuff, those were the only two, that really like did well in the festivals. And I guess the film I made on Todd Richards too did well. But that was it.
So we talk about this a lot. I think it's really rare to be a creative, a filmmaker, and then you moved into management, which I want to talk about, and then a CEO. You have like a little bit of everything almost. At what point did you realize, okay, I'm making films, but I can manage these athletes also and be good at it? Or did it just happen kind of organically?
Yeah.
Because I actually don't even remember when you became a manager. Were you a manager when I met you?
No, sort of, kind of. I mean, it wasn't like, so the way it happened was I made a music video. The first music video I ever made was Timmy Curran, Blue Eyes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Went to #7 on VH1.
Yeah, I remember that.
People still watch music videos.
Yeah.
And like my name was on the screen and everything. I'm like, honey, telling my wife to come in. Like that was like a huge thing to be like, you grow up watching MTV and then
absolutely.
VH1. I actually made a music video that was on VH1 with my name. It was a big deal for me. Right.
Crazy.
And Timmy's video, like we made it for like $2,500, like just camera and like put together a little story, and it killed it. And Pat Magnarella was helping Timmy. He's Green Day's was Green Day's manager. And he called me after he saw the video and was like, hey, I want to manage you as a director. And we'll get you an agent at CAA. And like, if you want to make feature films or you want to keep doing music videos, like I'll help you do that. So then I started making more music videos, and then we just built a relationship, and he was like, I want to start he had a music management business where he managed Green Day, Goo Goo Dolls, All American Rejects, bands like that. Yeah. And he said, I want to do a sports management business as well. Do you want to do it? And I went, you mean manage athletes? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, my friends are like, they're pretty good. But I don't know if they have This is like when 12-year-old kids didn't have managers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember.
You're like, where are your parents? Mm-hmm. You have a manager, but you're 12. But it wasn't like, so I just asked Taylor Knox and the Hobgoods.
And this is before you met Mikey?
This is before I met Mikey.
Okay.
And then we had a mutual friend who introduced us. And then Mike and I went to San Diego, and I started managing Mikey, Sean Malto, Mike Moe, and Omar Salazar.
Nice. So from there, you were managing athletes,
Right.
And
Kind of. I mean, kind of. Like
this is the thing.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm gonna shed some light on this one. So Josh
me
is
too. If you, yeah.
okay. So Josh, for those who don't know him, I think can argue a deal or prove a point better than maybe anyone I've ever seen. Right.
Yep.
So for us, especially like being skaters, we felt very comfortable that he could get us not only more than we could, but there would be no one on this planet that could get more money than Josh could get us, right? So there was comfort in that, but Josh wasn't managing our day-to-day, right?
Totally. So I wasn't really like I never felt like we were just friends.
You were negotiating deals for people.
Yeah, and I enjoy.
Yeah, and he was kind of doing it for free, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I enjoy the sport of it.
Yeah. I
Which is
remember.
like-
I remember
and I
being
still,
at Street
so I
League.
still do it.
Oh,
I
you
still,
do?
Yeah, like I've done like our friends who are involved in these businesses. I do their shoe deals for free.
Nice.
So when the companies get my name come up, they're like, here, yep, he's not calling for free shoes. But yeah, I never looked at myself like there's so many like great managers that actually like manage these guys day to day. For us, it was more like we were really good friends and especially I think more so probably with Sean. Like
Malto,
Sean,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Malto, yeah. He like, he was just things were kind of running through its course with Etnies. And Sean was really, in a place where it was really a generational type thing. He was in a very special place to take his career to the next level. And I think I probably did more for him than I had done for anybody else.
I
Don't you think?
remember that.
I mean,
I remember that deal. It was crazy.
and
Honestly,
if he were
I'll
sitting
hype-
here, I don't know if he would say that, but
I'll hype you up a lot about negotiating. I was surprised you got that deal. It was that
yeah,
bad.
I mean, it was good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was huge. It was awesome.
And he's a sweetheart. He's not going in and doing that. No.
So I'm going to throw something out there. Let's jump into St. Archer. So
Yeah.
let's hear the story. I mean, we've heard Mikey talk about you guys going on the train.
Right.
Tell us about the start of St. Archer from your perspective.
Yeah, it was really just the weekend before. I just happened to be in Puerto Rico for a surf trip.
The weekend before what?
The weekend before Mikey and I went on the train, I was in Puerto Rico on a surf trip with some
Okay.
of the guys that I was helping manage. So Taylor and
Yeah.
Mick and all the guys.
God, I almost forgot about this.
Yeah. So there was a brand
That was the trip when Andy died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a brand that approached Taylor Knox about investing in the business and being an ambassador, and he asked me what I thought, and I said I don't see it.
And it was vodka?
It was
tequila.
Tequila.
It was hard alcohol.
Yeah, and I just Taylor's like the model of fitness for the tour, right? 22 years on 22,
Yeah.
23 years on tour. He didn't want to do the energy drinks or a soda sponsor. And I just said, just kind of out of the blue, well, why don't you do beer? I mean, everybody drinks beer. Like whether you drink one or one every 6 months, one a day, whatever. And then if you wanted to do craft beer, that would be even better because we actually drink craft beer. And then the light bulb just went off in my head and went, craft beer. Like, why has that never come from our culture of surfing and skating and art and film and all these things that make up what our culture is? And it was the one universal product where I was like, skaters use it, photographers, surfers, artists, everything that we are, everyone drinks beer.
Yep.
And like the brands that always influenced me were always rider owned and operated, whether it was On a Mission and surfing in the mid to late 90s, or it was Girl. Like it's always been the ones where you're like, those guys, my heroes, own it. I'm down.
Yeah.
You're always more down for that than the other like faceless, some CEO dude that doesn't really, fit the culture that they're promoting, right?
So let me ask you a question real quick about craft beer. Craft beer kind of had a rise. Were you aware when they were negotiating these big deals, were you aware at that time of the craft beer culture?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I was aware of it, but growing up in Ventura, the only craft beer brand that was worth a damn was Firestone.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's what we were living in Ventura. You're getting like a little bit of Anchor Steam in Sierra Nevada and Lagunitas and then Firestone. Right. And when I had the idea for St. Archer, craft beer was nothing.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah,
It was
it
not.
wasn't.
This sums it up. when I told a majority of my friends who all drink Coors Light and Bud Light that I'm going to do St. Archer, they're like, you mean a brewery like BJ's?
Yeah.
No, what pizza? No, dude, it's a craft brewery. People come to it. It was like they didn't get it.
Can you tell the story? We're going to blow him up right now, but can you tell the story about Mick trying the beer for the first time?
You mean when he spit it all over us? Yeah, now he owns a brewery on the Gold Coast.
I don't know this story.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to tell it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're in Australia and basically pitching to Mick about this kind of brewery. And we have
if anybody by any chance doesn't know who
Mick Fanning.
Mick Fanning.
Yeah. And it's going so well, right? Josh can really tell a story, right? It's going so well. He's basically like fucking sold, right? And he goes, well, let me try this stuff. Right? Josh's like, great, we have it. Gives him the beer. He cracks it open, and it's this one.
He's all, oh, mate.
Oh, this is fucking terrible. Right? Like, no censor. Like, and I'm sitting there like, dude, my heart drops. I'm like, this is not good. And Josh goes, yeah, it's like a craft beer, dude.
This isn't Tui's, man.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't an acquired thing. He's all, mate.
They passed on it.
Yeah, he was, and
because of that.
We got up, and I'm like, I don't think he's going to be investing. It was not good, but then so I was in Puerto Rico, and then the next weekend I just happened to be with Mikey, and I'm sure you've heard the story, but we went down to San Diego, and we were going to take the train, and that was what the film was based around. And we got to San Diego, it was raining, and it just the guys went out, we went back to the hotel. And you got a call from Mike Mo to do probably Glassy.
So when we drove down to San Diego, it was the first time we really hung out. Right? And for 2.5 hours with Davis in the back, Davis didn't say one word.
No.
We're talking about the skate industry the whole time. Right?
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, we were fired up, right? Like arguing with each other.
Yeah, it's raining. We're yelling at each other. Davis is like, what the hell is wrong with you guys?
So over it, right?
Yeah.
So I get a call from Mike Mo, and I was just like, hey, dude, what do you think about this? Like, this is like his idea. He's going to do Glassy.
And we're in the hotel room.
Yeah.
Like 2 double beds.
Yeah. And Josh is like, yeah, it's cool, but like, it's not like new. Like, it'd be cool to do something like that's never been done or something special. And then like, whatever, we like don't think anything of it, like turn on the light, and Josh goes, like beer, like craft beer. And then light goes on.
So basically your mind had been brewing from seeing this approach of beer companies to surfers, and then you guys connected, and it made sense.
No, it was more so like the brands like Girl and On a Mission, and a majority of skate brands that just influenced me. And I just thought, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah. Let's
take it to a product that we use, but no one really associates our culture with it. And I think that's where the entrepreneurial mind comes in, right? Because really, as an entrepreneur, you want to disrupt. So when the disruption starts, it's the fun part. Then when the disruption is over, I'm done, right? So, but in the beginning, when you're really pissing people off, that's the best.
Josh loves
that's why you're doing it, right? You're like getting fired up, and you are looking at a segment going, I can do it better. And I felt like that. I didn't necessarily feel like I could brew beer better, because I've never brewed a beer in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anybody in the beer business, but I felt like I could build a better brand than everybody else.
Totally.
And whether that was true or not, I don't know. That was the confidence I had in myself to do that.
So let's talk about moving into raising money. Did you guys consider, I don't know if this is, I'm just going to address all the questions at you, and then Mikey can jump in whenever it's applicable. Did you consider doing St. Archer without money, or at what point did you realize we're raising money?
So Mikey, Paul, and I, because Paul was just as involved with this, at first we were going to contract brew it. So I was making movies, and obviously Mikey with DC, Paul with Nike. And we would just, in our spare time, like try and learn as much about the beer business as we could. And we were going to contract brew it. So we went and met with this company called Bayhawk in Los Angeles. Remember that?
Yeah, of
Then
course.
we went to this brewery,
Indian Wells,
which is basically like you're in Mammoth. Yeah. And then you turn around and come back. Yeah. And we were going to contract brew it. And we sat in this meeting with Indian Wells. And the guy goes, so you guys are like huge craft beer fans. Like, you know, it's great to have you here. I really like what you're doing. You guys are skaters. That's so cool, blah, blah. You know, like, what's your favorite craft beer? And I'm like, well, you know, we're still trying to figure that out. Like, you know, we like craft beer. And Paul goes, I'll take this one. Bud Light Lime. I'm all,
Paul
dude.
said that, really?
I'm all.
He totally said it, and Josh started sweating.
I'm
Josh's
all,
like,
Paul,
dude, this isn't good.
Next time, I'll handle all of the beer centric. Just you look
That's
pretty all the
amazing.
time, man. Just sit there and we'll do. And then we got to the financials of it, and the guy goes, yeah, so like it breaks down to where, you know, you pay us, you know, $18 for the case, and then, you know, you'll probably turn around and sell it for $18.25 to the distributor. And I'm like, doing
those actual margins?
Doing the quick
awful.
math, going, so you're telling me we're making 25 cents?
I
Wow.
remember him
I'm
saying
like, well,
that.
this was fun.
Yeah.
We're driving home, and Paul and I are in the back seat, and we had another friend with us, and Paul goes, we're like, what are we going to do? This was a good idea. We're over it. Like, let's just go back to doing
We
what
kind
were
of
doing.
gave up.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
done. And then Paul goes, turns to me in the back seat, we should get Kim Kardashian on this shit, dog. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I mean, like, we should get, this thing needs to be bigger. Like, he's all, maybe not Kim Kardashian, but you know where I'm going, dog. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I know what you mean. He's all, scared money don't make money, dog. And I'm like, so should we do a capital raise?
Yeah.
And he's like, let's go get millions. And I was like, I don't even know how to give. I don't even know anybody with any money.
That was the best.
This
And,
is the
best.
amazing story.
And so I was like, I guess, well, yeah, we should like raise capital. And then a couple months went by, and we met at when the barracks was in downtown. We met there. And we went out to dinner, Mikey, Paul, and I. And it was really just at a point where it was like, either one of us is going to go do this thing, or it's going to be a good idea and we'll let it go.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll do it. I'm going to do it, and I'll quit making movies. I'll completely stop managing athletes. And I went home and told my wife that I'm going to do St. Archer, and my daughter was 4 and my oldest son was 1, and we're moving to San Diego because I don't think we should build it in Ventura and leave the only home and friends and family we've ever had. And she said, I'll find us a place to live.
So your decision, Josh, to go all in, how did you make that decision? Was it a numbers thing? Was it a gut? What was it?
I guess it was a gut, and I just made the decision on the way home.
And there was no looking back. There was no.
No,
It was
I'm not
all
big
forward from there.
on like kind of going back and forth. Once like we're doing it, like we're doing it.
And I remember you told me, because I think originally we talked about possibly doing it in Ventura, right?
For sure.
And you were like, dude, the mecca of craft beer is
Yeah.
San Diego, and we have to be in that center to essentially compete.
I think
Right?
for me, I enjoy the pressure of the jumping into the deep end.
Got you.
So I wanted to be in the biggest pond with the biggest fish and see how well we could do. And Ventura, you know, it just there's only 100,000 people in the city. It's like, you want to build a business that's going to like really to be a national business. You're not going to do it in Ventura. I mean, Firestone is a unicorn of a brand to do that in Paso Robles, right? Like it just,
Yeah.
and they started so many years ago and built a great business. But really, I mean, I think what gets lost in a lot of these conversations about entrepreneurs, especially ones that are married with kids, which are a lot.
Yep.
I mean, my wife, Janine, like there's not a lot of women that would say, I'll find us a place to live. No fight. I'll find us a place to live.
Yeah.
Right? My boy Kelly was like, you're moving to San Diego? What are you going to do? How are you're going to pay rent? Shouldn't you think about a house? Like, what do you do? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Like it was
Yeah.
more like you get more from your friends like that are like, dude, this is like kind of crazy.
Yeah, and this is at a point.
Yeah.
This isn't Josh right now. Back then,
Right.
this is way before.
Yeah.
Even though I think we all knew what you were going to become, this was before you had done anything like this. So to kind of say like, I'm going to leave my job.
Yeah.
I'm going to move to San Diego.
It was
We're gonna
crazy.
Start this. Yeah,
It was crazy.
gnarly.
And it was crazy. I mean, Janine, I would say, was the only one who was like, he's going to do whatever I just believe it. And she's always been that way. Like when I was making surf films, she never thought I was crazy and never thought it was stupid. And when I didn't have any money and I didn't, she never she's never done that. Like she's always been my biggest support. And I think like that's a huge reason why I've been successful is because I go home and she supports me. That doesn't mean that she has not hated St. Archer multiple days.
Yeah.
And all these other businesses and me.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's real too. Right. These like rainbows and fairies for these business. Nah, this shit's a grind.
Yep.
And
so
it's hard, right? Like it's hard.
Let's talk about that. So tell us about raising money because let's just frame it up a little bit. You're raising money for a product that you don't yet have. And we're talking about
slight setback. Yeah.
So, and we're talking about St. Archer at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're raising money for a product you don't have, and
right.
You're essentially selling people a dream, or this is what's going to happen.
Not essentially. That's exactly
you're selling people a dream. So tell us about how that went and the challenges in raising money.
I think being naive, I didn't even know what a capital raise was. I didn't know anyone in the beer business, and I was not a brewer, and I had no beer for them to taste. Right. But the story that we had was very unique. And I think having Mikey and Paul putting us in front of the world's best skaters and then having them believe in like basically the overall vision of the company that I saw in San Diego. Once you get, Eric Costin invests, and then you have all these other guys come on board, Sean Malto, and you have Taylor Knox, and you have all of these different guys, right? Like it creates a great story. And I think if you're on the outside looking in, you're going, that's like the craziest thing ever. You have all of these different athletes and they're putting their own money into this thing. And, it just, if you're not from our world and you're looking at it, you're like, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And somehow I moved to San Diego and I just started meeting with people. Like I didn't know anything about anything. And I just started meeting with people, and one person led me, one guy had put in 25 grand. He'd be like, yo, I got this other buddy. He might put in 50 and somehow I raised 2.8 million. I have no idea how. Like looking back on it now, it's the craziest. And no one ever said, so you're not a brewer, huh? Like no one ever said that. No one ever said, dude, I really need to try the beer.
How does that feel with that? I mean, obviously it's great taking money, but there's a responsibility that comes with that. And you're not taking money from random people. You're taking money from Eric Costin.
Right.
So that must be a pretty intense pressure.
Yeah, it wasn't for me.
Why do you say that?
Because I knew it was going to be a success.
Got you.
So I've never looked at that. Like I'm
sorry. You're saying it wasn't a pressure for you.
No.
Okay. Got you.
I've never felt pressure of taking other people's money.
Got you. Because you were sure
which
it was
maybe
gonna
is like a fear mechanism that doesn't exist in me, that maybe that's good.
Yeah.
That I just never, I think 100% this is going to be successful. There is no way we're going to fail. And I'm going to die until we're going to get to that point where I'll give it everything. Sacrifice everything.
Yeah, and I will say this kind of on the point you made about you don't really spend time going, should I do this? Should I do this?
Right.
You're very, in my eyes, black and white when you make a decision.
Right.
And I'm sure that process is comforting, or there's something about that process that makes you feel confident. And
yeah, I think once you jump in, it's just like there's no sense in I've probably raised, in the last 6 years for these multiple businesses, well north of 20 million now.
Nice.
And I've never been like, well, shit, what if this doesn't work?
Yeah.
Well, you start thinking like that, you might as well give it all back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So it's just, and it's not like it wasn't always like this, right? Like I gained a lot of confidence as we went along here.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about the transition from manager to CEO?
Yeah. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, man. I don't know if I can even.
It's so funny because I got to experience it firsthand watching you go through it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of crazy stories. I could think of just the first time you had to fire somebody.
Yeah, that was fun.
So what were some of the struggles, or what was hard going through that?
I think the biggest struggle was, and Frank Foster, who is our biggest investor and lives in Montecito, runs a venture capital firm there. Before we got started, he said, if this thing is successful and I believe in you and I believe in the brand, this is going to be the most lonely time you've ever been through in your entire life. And I didn't really understand it. And then it really is. Like, as you transition into running a business and you're hiring people, and now people are like sacrificing careers to come on board, and you're giving them equity, and it's like but then you're kind of segregating yourself because you can't have the normal conversation with employees like, God, well, this isn't working out. What do you think about this? What about this? You're not really doing that because you're the end all answer. And a lot of the times I was like, I'm not really sure because I've never been in the beer business. I don't, so it was a huge learning curve. But I think the biggest thing for me was I know what I'm not good at. Like, that's very crystal clear in my eyes, what I'm not good at.
What are you not good at?
I'm not good at a lot of stuff. I'm not good at a lot of stuff. I'm like anything like day to day, like paperwork, dude. If you asked me to like email you something after this show that I needed to sign, dude, this thing's not going live. Yeah. It's not happening, right? Like as far as like busy work, structure, awful, like really bad. And so I didn't know anybody in the sales. I didn't know any brewers. And I was just like, what I identified was I'm going to go hire the best and I'm just going to convince them that my new business is going to be the best decision they've ever made in their careers. Great. And fortunately for me, really, it was Jeff Hansen, who was a veteran in the beer business with Sam Adams and Boston Beer, and then was the vice president of sales at Coronado in San Diego, and really turned that business around, took them from 5,000 barrels to 18,000 barrels in basically 2 years. And I ran into him at a conference, and I took him out to lunch the next day and said, what's it going to take for you to leave? And he took a massive pay cut and took some equity and really developed the sales strategy plan that was the perfect complement to me and building a brand, and then him building the brand in the streets.
And what was his role at St. Archer?
Ultimately, he was our vice president, but he came on as vice president of sales.
Gotcha.
And then Jeff was really running the day-to-day business. And with St. Archer, we were only selling beer, so we raised money, just to kind of backtrack and have it make sense. We raised money. We built a brewery just east of La Jolla in an 18,000 square foot building. We launched on tax day of 2013.
On your birthday?
No. Tax day is April 15th.
No. The grand we had a private party.
The grand opening was on my birthday.
I was at that one.
Yeah, there you go.
That's fun.
And then we launched in the market, and the brand went crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a crazy, crazy run. But yeah, I think, and we were only selling in 3 cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. So I had time to focus on the brand, the creative marketing, and like all of those different things. And then, and with Villager, that stuff is done for me, and it's all like traditional CEO role. But so it was the challenge for me was like just kind of the loneliness of it. And we were in a city we didn't know anybody, so it was. So
the loneliness you're describing is essentially being at the top, just for people that haven't been in this position, being at the top and not being able to have the normal friend conversations. Yeah. Because you have to be basically the authority.
In my opinion, the way the leader should run the business is there should be a huge separation.
Which I remember that being hard for you in the beginning.
Yeah,
because Josh likes talking to people.
I do. I love people.
Yeah.
I love like talking to people. I love seeing how they're doing. But you have to like change your personality, and it just, you can't have that relationship because you need to hire and fire and reprimand, and you're not going to do that when you just had dinner with them and their kids and you're playing in the backyard. And I pulled myself completely back so I could have no emotion when I needed to make business decisions. And that's hard, man.
Yeah.
You're like changing your personality, so you could be better at business. Totally. Basically.
So I think everyone kind of outside looking in, St. Archer looks like it was perfect and successful all the time.
Right.
In your eyes, what were some of the big struggles with St. Archer?
It kind of was. Like it kind of was. Yeah, kind of. I mean,
but think about it. Dude. Ray.
Yeah, I mean, we for sure we had to fire people, but that's like, but dude, the brand seriously it was like we had things break our way that like don't happen.
For sure.
You know, like we had the Islands restaurant chain, 2 weeks into being in business in the market, they call and go, we want to put you in 75 restaurants. Okay. Well, they don't what? The Dodgers, 2 months in, not available anywhere in Los Angeles, call and go, we want to put the Blondale in the stadium.
Yep.
What do you mean? We're not even available in LA. You could only get St. Archer at Dodger games for 8 months before we even hit the Los Angeles market. So, I mean, what was really hard was the growth. And I think you can grow yourself out of business.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not able to like and beer is a very capital intensive business. So you need to be able to raise a lot of money really, really fast.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you're screwed. Because if you can't fulfill the orders, the bars are going to take you out, and then that's it. That's it.
Just out of curiosity, do you think we're in a time right now where everybody's trying to like accelerate growth, or like a successful brand is like how fast you can step on the gas?
I think that's probably all. I mean,
You think it's always?
Yeah, I think
because I
that-
feel like before now, like it was like this kind of idea of creating a sustainable business, right? And then it was like, to me right now, it's all about these huge, and this isn't more so what we do, but
Right.
like kind of a lot of these big companies is like, how big of a capital raise can they get and how fast?
Well, I think there's a lot to be said for everything is so public now. So you're on Instagram and you're following your favorite brand. You're like, dude, look at these, like they're killing it. They're like doing this and they're doing that. And the perception, I think people are always trying to keep up.
Yeah.
Whereas before, how would you know how Billabong's doing?
Yeah, totally.
How would you know what like
a good
Nixon's doing or what, like you just wouldn't, how would you really know unless you're flipping through the,
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I think everyone has always wanted to grow as fast as you can and have people like your brand. But I think the
It's just more
pressure
public
now,
now.
yeah, everything is like, you think every time someone does a capital raise, you read about it.
Yeah.
You're like, how are they raising 20 mil? They must be like, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't do any of it.
So let's talk about the acquisition. Was there any part of the setup that you feel like was crucial in the sale of St. Archer? And I can't remember, is the dollar amount public or private for the acquisition amount?
It's private.
It's
yeah.
private. Okay. Was there any part of how it was set up that aided in you guys getting to acquisition?
No, it was just a phenomenal growth.
Okay.
And I think it was just the right time. Timing is
Good
everything.
timing.
Yeah, I mean, now if you wanted to sell a craft beer, it's not happening. It's just not happening, right? Anheuser-Busch is done buying brands. Miller Coors is done buying brands.
Yep.
And they were the ones who were really driving the valuations up. And it just so happened that I needed to raise $10 million more for us to keep up with growth. And then I got a call from Budweiser trying to buy the brand. And then I just said, wow, maybe we could actually sell this thing. And I made a film telling St. Archer's story and put together a deck, and away we went.
Okay, so let's touch on that. You were basically at the point where you're like, we have to raise $10 million
Right.
to grow.
Yeah.
Because it's a capital intensive business.
Right.
So you were doing that, and then you got a call from Budweiser.
Correct.
And then that's kind of when the light went on. You said, maybe we should exit. How did you weigh out the decision to sell versus continue to grow?
It's funny because this is a good question. Like as an entrepreneur, you feel like the number one answer is like you're adverse to risk at all costs. But actually, I'm not. If there's an opportunity to like change my friends' lives, I'm not going to mess around with that. And that's not something, I feel like a huge responsibility to not be the risk taker in those situations. And like, I felt like we needed more capital. How much was our equity going to dilute if I raised that capital? And then, you know, what are the financial situations that all of our friends are in that have put money in? Mm-hmm. And I knew that I could change their lives. And that was, I didn't want to like risk it and wait a year and a half.
Yep.
And I wasn't willing to play with their financial future like that. I would have done it. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for everyone else. And I was right. If we waited a year and a half.
That's what I was going to say, because that was
the time.
The argument.
That was the time.
That Budweiser and Miller are actively buying brands right now.
For sure.
They're driving prices up. The
Right.
second they stop buying, we're not getting acquisitions,
Right.
right? Or at the price we wanted to.
And I think I saw maybe a year ahead, like right when Budweiser bought Goose Island in Chicago, I said, you know, a majority of your volume nationwide, if you're fortunate enough to have that footprint, you're going to be, a majority of that's going to be in the grocery stores. So when Anheuser-Busch and Miller Coors start buying up brands, well, they're going to go into all the national retail and go, you're putting in these craft brands because they're selling millions of cases of Bud Light and Coors Light, right? So I saw that a little bit early and said, guys,
for sure,
we've raised money. Like, we're going to be a national brand. You can't raise $9 million and then tell all of your shareholders, actually, we're only going to sell beer in San Diego. That's when people knock on the door, and it's not for free beer. Right?
Yeah.
So I think like I saw that early, and I think that was the best decision. But it wasn't easy either.
Not everybody was happy. You hear the story, it sounds like everybody's happy. Was everybody happy?
No. People tried to sue us.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Right? And that was like I'd never dealt with like you're handing a check with a lot of zeros.
Yeah.
And then we had people trying to sue us that or threatening lawsuits that weren't even investors and said they had a conversation with me at a fucking bar. And like, it was crazy.
Wow.
And our attorney, who's been our attorney the whole way through for the last 6 years, was like, this is standard stuff. So it was, and then some investors were like, you sold too early. I could have made more money. I'm like, you just made, what are you? I don't get. And I think for me, I was always like, man, you just like, well, that was fun. Shouldn't you just be stoked? And no, that wasn't the case all the time.
It's so crazy.
But there were a lot of tears, right? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of hugs, kisses, tears. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So after St. Archer,
Yes.
you stayed around and ran the company.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that transition to essentially you having people to what kind of you were held accountable to, or a boss, or?
Yeah, I didn't really have a boss. And I think Miller Coors, I think all the intentions were in the right place. I think we were the first craft brand they had purchased in 22 years since Blue Moon.
Okay.
And there's a big difference between making a craft beer and brewing millions of barrels of Coors Light. And I think it wasn't matching up. And I think the intention they had for the way they wanted it to go was just not reality, and it just not from our world. And they just didn't understand the way we did things and the way they did things. And and for me, I'll be the first to admit, like, I'm not good in the corporate environment. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not wearing Dockers and blue blazers ever. Like, that's just
yeah. And I remember talking, and I felt like every week it was like you were almost trying to convince yourself that this was good and you could do this. And by the end of the week, you'd be frustrated and they would start all over.
Well, because I think they wanted me to be there, right? They left me alone in terms of brand and they never tried to like do anything that, I think it was just really hard because I knew how to grow the business. And at that point, like, the brand was established, and I wanted to grow the business into a national brand. And they made some decisions that really hurt it. And like switching distributorships in Southern California was really hard for us. We lost a lot of business. And that was just, I don't think Miller Coors is intentionally trying to hurt the brand. They just thought that's what you do. Yeah. You go in our network, and it just wasn't the right call. And I think for me, I always want to protect the employees, and when I'm used to like giving raises or firing people just at my discretion, then that's the way I want to do it. But when you're a part of Miller Coors or any corporation, big corporation, they have standard practices and procedures, and you do it that way, and I don't do it that way.
Yep.
Like, you do it my way. And they said, you do it my way. And I said, I quit. And I was supposed to stay for a year. I had a multi-year deal. I just 18 months in said, enough is enough.
And for everyone who doesn't know, I'm just going to tell everyone, you were making a lot of money. And for you to walk away, I thought it was like 2 years left.
I had 5 years left.
5 years left. You were leaving a lot of money on the table to do Villager.
Yeah, which is fine. I leaving money on the table. I just wasn't in it anymore. Same exact thing. Drove home, told Janine, I'm done with St. Archer. She said, okay, now what? Like, now what are you going to do? Right.
Did you know?
Yeah, I knew I was going to go take the same role as Villager. You know, Jeff Hansen and I had the idea for Villager, and you know, it was kind of like, it was the same thing. We were talking about it, and we just said, okay, let's jump in. Jeff left St. Archer 2 months before me, and that was hard, right? And Jeff, there was a lot of things he wasn't liking the direction of St. Archer, and you know, he just wasn't feeling it anymore, and he left, and then I left, and I assumed the CEO role at Villager, and Mikey being a part of Villager, along with the rest of our friends, we it's obviously a bigger team now, and it was a bigger vision, right? With Villager, I saw what we could do in the alcohol industry with our friends, but really like because non-alcoholic beverages have used our culture to catapult their businesses, whether it was like Monster and Jeremy McGrath, or like P-Rod and Mountain Dew, right? Yeah. So they've really used who we are. And I thought, gosh, that's such a bigger audience, not water, coconut water, juice, food, like that's, and if I can convince my friends again, and some new friends, hey, I want you to leave your sponsorship deals. I want you to get out of them. And then I want you to put money into this thing. Mm-hmm. And then that's the best story there is, right? It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
When Paul Rodriguez walks away from Mountain Dew in that paycheck, which is a big one, and goes, and then I'm going to give you 6 figures to start this. That's, dude, you can't say anything.
Yeah.
Right? And so once I did that capital raise for that business, and the boys were really like dialed in, and the only people who have invested in this business is athletes. So all of the money we've ever raised is from athletes.
In Villager.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's it.
All the money you've raised for Villager is from athletes.
Correct.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So yeah, all of everything we've raised to date has been just from them. And I think I've said it before, a lot of people have these misconceptions that all of these athletes are just rolling in millions of dollars. No.
Oh yeah.
It's just that just because you're a pro skater and you see Slash and Thrasher doesn't mean he's not making millions.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, with Villager, it just needed me to come over and like kind of take it bull by the horns and do what I know how to do. Mm-hmm. And it's really taken off.
How different was it doing Villager as opposed to St.
Way
Archer?
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It's way harder. It's way harder. Villager is much harder than St. Archer ever was.
In what ways?
You're in control of less. You're like at the mercy of, in non-alcoholic food and beverage, you're at the mercy of the retailer. So like you're going in and saying, you're going to meet with 7-Eleven and you say, here's my product. This is how great we are. And then they go, well, it's not the right time. We're not resetting our shelves for another 7 months. Mm-hmm. Bye. Whereas in craft beer, I could say, I want to sell beer in Ventura. I'm going to put a sales rep in Ventura, and he's going to walk into all 32 bars in Ventura and get our draft handle in there. That's way more controllable. With Villager, it's not controllable.
Yeah.
And then, and so then you're turning into like you're running a business, right? It's not like, because if people, you can't just go do marketing and brand things when people can't buy it. It's like I can make a film on Mikey. He has 500,000 followers. Well, great, cool. We're available in Canoga Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
what are you gonna? What it's like? You know, Ryan makes this beautiful film, and then we're available in 3 stores at Gelson's, right? It's like, and it's awesome that P-Rod's posting about it, but everybody in Milwaukee can't buy it, right? Yeah. So like you kind of stop thinking about brand, and I'm just like, I got to build a business. Yeah. And that's what we did. And we've done it fast in relative terms. But it's been really, really hard.
So let's go over quickly, kind of just establish Villager. Villager, how long has it been in business now?
2 years.
2 years. How many employees?
5.
I think it's funny.
Is it really 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. St. Archer was at like over 50.
But the difference is with Villager, you don't have a brewery, correct?
We have an office. Well, kind of. We just moved out of it. We don't have I have an iPhone and a car and an F-250. That's what I have. That's man. Like the office. Yeah, it's totally different. Like, so we're an organic coconut water, right?
Yeah.
And we get that from the Philippines. And then we also just introduced an alkaline water, which we make a lot of places all over the US. And now we're going to be Little Villager, which is kids organic, no sugar added juice, apple juice, fruit punch, and pink lemonade. And then it will ultimately spin off from there. We're going to be doing Little Villager cereal and bars and all these different snacks for little kids.
And how, as far as distribution, how do you distribute Villager?
A variety of different ways. So it's a different system where you really have to get accepted by the retailer, and then there's a distributor who will ultimately just drop it off.
Okay.
Right? They're not selling it in. They're not helping you get into Ralph's. Right?
Like with St. Archer, you had a distributor.
Yeah, and the distributor would actually work. Right? They would actually go into the bars and like help you gain distribution for your business. You actually had a partner.
Yeah, I went to a couple of parties with you guys. When we're opening this bar, we'd go in, your rep would be there, and you had a full distributor working with you to do that. So with Villager, it's different.
Days are long gone. Now it's really Jeff and I and our nice smiles. And hopefully we can get the product in. And fortunately for us, we've been able to do that.
Love it.
Yeah, in 2 years, I mean, we're rolling out nationwide with 7-Eleven and we have a great distribution with Target coming out in September, which is amazing. And, we're doing some great things with Amazon and just everything that's happening. We're in 250 Circle K's in Denver, and it's about to get expanded to 550 Circle K.
Wow.
It's really crazy. And then it's all over Southern California now.
And forgive me for digging in here too much if I am, but when I'm asking distribution, who actually ships your guys' product? Because you mentioned 5 employees, but that's not equating. You have the ability to ship out all of this product. Who's doing that?
A 3PL.
A 3PL, right?
Yeah. So it's nothing exciting.
Yeah.
Right? There's not this like rah Villager team in Encinitas that everyone's high-fiving, packing boxes. It's
you
not.
Have it systematized,
honestly,
basically.
I would rather have that because it would be more controllable, right?
Got you.
Like Kelly and I could be high-fiving, like packing boxes, like drinking a beer. Everyone's stoked. Instead, you're like, you guys are doing it, right? I think you're in Riverside. What's going on, right? You don't know. You don't know. Like we were supposed to launch Amazon, and the product had to get from one place to another. It went to the wrong address, and now it's not going there in time, and now it's just like and I just get updates on the phone. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. I'm like, so what's the plan then? There's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of patience involved.
Yeah.
Which I'm not good at. So it's been a real learning experience for both Jeff and I. It's been hard, really hard.
Is there anything that you do that helps you deal with patience or lack of control or any kind of hardships that you're going through, business or personal?
Swimming and surfing is big, and meditation is big. As I found through St. Archer, I found that's a big deal. And I have 3 little kids. That's crazy all the time, man. Yeah. There's no like, no one's cruising. Like it's never, when you get home, they don't care what's going on. They're fired up and like trying to throw footballs at my face. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everyone's fired up at all times. So there's not a lot of downtime. I just wake up early, and that's like I just wake up before everybody else does because that's my only time when it's quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, you as long as I've known you, you've been up early.
Yeah.
What do you have what's your morning look like? Or what's your day-to-day? Do you have a set day-to-day?
No. It changes every day, which could also be stressful on a lot of people, right? There's no structure, there's no nothing. It's really just like you're constantly just putting out fires. And it's totally different every single day, which is exciting, but at the same time, it's exhausting. Yeah. But yeah, so the traditional day, I try not to do a lot of the phone before bed and right when I wake up. I hate my phone, dude. I'm not like the guy who loves like Instagram. I hate it all.
Which is why this interview is so exclusive.
And why Josh has had 4 Instagrams.
I have a love-hate with it. It's hard for me to like hate Insta because we built St. Archer on it. Yeah. And we built Villager on it. Yeah. But I hate it for multiple other reasons. It's like I would rather not be by my phone and just kind of enjoying the company of people and conversations rather than just this.
Which you are really good at.
Yeah, I hate it. I really do. Yeah. So I think maybe that's been a good balance in Yeah.
So let me ask you this: with where things are going as far as the distribution of goods, it is disrupting everything right now. Is that changing how things are done with food and Villager also?
You mean like there's more online?
Yeah, there's all these companies. For example, we've interviewed a few entrepreneurs, and they have built entire businesses going direct.
Sure, of course.
So you're describing a pain point of there's these retailers that have spent 50 years with shelf space, and it's hard to get that shelf space.
Right.
So is that affecting your guys' business model with Villager and going direct and working? You mentioned Amazon.
Yeah.
Is there a future in going direct with the types of products you're making?
I think for the types of products that we make, you know, like our juice, water, coconut water, in those type of, in beverages, no.
Okay.
Because it's so heavy. You're not going to ship it all over the United States. You get killed in freight.
Got you.
Right? So you'd be out of business in 2 months. But if you are fortunate enough to build some sort of a presence on Amazon and really take advantage of what they're doing and their 100 million Prime members, right? That's a special thing for a company that's shipping really heavy products, because those Prime members, they're paying for shipping no matter what. Yeah. So whether they order a case of our water or whatever they buy, a television, whatever, it's free shipping. And that for us is massive. It's massive. And I think, you know, grocery stores, I think convenience stores in the US, I don't think that's ever going to go away. I don't think people will forever stop and buy a water and a Cliff Bar. And you're never going to stop at a grocery store to do that when your 3 kids are screaming in the back that they want juice. Right? It's unreal. You're not going to get them all out and go into you're always going to stop and, you know, Chevron or whatever you do.
Sure.
But I think having Amazon, for people build businesses just on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I am, to be honest, I cannot wait. I do this where I eat dinner. I order on Chow Now. It's an app. I walk in, my food's ready. I eat it. I love it.
Chow Now?
Chow Now. Yeah.
That's wow.
It's amazing. And I can't wait. I almost want to get the Samsung fridge where you can order all your food. It connects. They just don't have Amazon Fresh in my area.
Yeah.
But I'm so hyped on that. So,
yeah. Once the Amazon Fresh, I mean, they really, you know, they're doing some unbelievable things.
They're doing
They
it.
are.
They really are.
Yeah.
Let's give the audience some advice if they're starting a brand. Maybe we start with a capital raise, because you've done a lot of them now. In your eyes, what would you tell a kid who has the option to possibly start without a capital, with his own money, or having to raise money? Is there a you should or shouldn't? Maybe for kids who do need money and don't know how to do it. Any advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just having the biggest thing is having that undenying passion for whatever it is that you're doing. Like that passion that when you sit down with someone, whether it's your mom, your best friend, or a complete stranger, because they want to see that. Like when I was raising money for St. Archer, what people wanted to hear and see from me was that I was putting it all on the line. And then once you prove yourself, you can put it on the line less, right? But I was all in. They were like, this dude is moving his 2 little kids and wife to a city they don't know, that he just has to figure this out or they're not going to eat. He's going to figure it out. And really, because the people are investing in you. They're not really investing in your brand. I mean, they are. I mean, how many people invested in St. Archer know about the craft beer business? Very few. How many people that invested in Villager? These guys, they don't know about the coconut water juice business. They're investing in me to do what I say I'm going to do. Yeah. And I think if people see that in an authentic way, you can raise money. It's hard to raise money. You know, you're asking people for their like hard earned. How many people have 25 grand laying around? And when they give it to you, you better be ready, you know? And I think there is no real time to like, should you put your money in? Yeah, you should put everything you have into it. You should do everything humanly possible. I mean, Mikey and Paul were helping me pay my utility bills when I moved to San Diego. You got to go all the way in. There's no like halfway doing it. Yep. Right. So, and they don't teach you that at school, right?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. We should have asked that earlier. So Josh you did not go to school.
I was the worst student. I was an awful student. I hated school. And I only really went to school because I played water polo in high school, and I had to, I love playing sports, and I was an awful student. And so college for me, like right when I had the opportunity to work for Taylor Steel, college went right out the window. It wasn't even like, and here my mom, bless her heart, she went to the University of Pennsylvania. She's an Ivy League graduate attorney. I'm like, she looks at me and goes, I love you, but are we going to think about the college, and it just wasn't. I mean, my wife, fun little story, to meet the Malloys, when I knocked on their door, I was going to try and like write an article about them and like submit it to that was like my, and by the way, I also film surfing, right? And so I actually interviewed them, and Janine, my wife, wrote the article. I didn't write it. She was like, I'm going to help you do this, and I'm going to write it. And it says like by it's by her.
Unreal.
Yeah. So, but it's like, so for me, school was never to make movies or do businesses. I just knew that I would figure it out.
So what would you say to a kid who's kind of questioning, I don't know what I want to do. Parents are pressuring him or her to go to school, or he thinks he needs to go to school to learn it. Should they go? Is it personal?
I mean, I think if you ever need to go to school to like learn a trade, that's whether you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, or you want to be like my boy who's cutting hair, right? Like he had to go to school to learn how to cut hair. Once you get out of school to cut hair, they don't teach you how to run your business. They don't teach you anything, man. And like having examples like Kelly and seeing like he did it, and I looked at him and said, dude, if he did it here, why can't I do it? Like, what's the difference? Just because he built a hair salon, like I could go build a brewery. And it's like looking at those types of examples and really just believing. My mom always said I could do anything I wanted. I actually believed it, That's so rad. And those examples were huge for me.
Yeah.
So as far as being a CEO, you started the business, became the CEO. Have you seen any people that have started business and stepped into other roles, or maybe were not fit to be running a business?
Yeah, and I mean,
you can tell you're fit to run, like be the guy that's pushing it.
Yeah, I don't mind being the guy, being the CEO, like the title thing. I just want to win, man. I don't even have a business card. I don't care about being a CEO or them calling me the co-founder. I don't care. I just want to win.
You just want to win.
So like whatever everybody's titles are, I don't give a shit about that. And a lot of people get fixated on like, these are your roles and responsibilities. And these are, dude, not me. Like, and everyone that works with us and for us, when I'll go wash kegs, I'll pour beers, like I'll drive and do this and I'll do that. I don't care. I'll hand sell into the bars. I'll do whatever it takes. So like some people want to stay there, but I'll do that even when we're making millions of dollars and everything's killing it. I'll still go hand sell into a bar right now. Like, so there's no, you know what I mean? So the CEO title, I mean, I get it's next to my name, but I don't, whatever, It
sounds like the philosophy is get it done, whatever it takes.
It's almost like you have to have it for like the corporate structure. But I don't care, and everybody I work with doesn't care. Like we're starting new businesses. Like my boys aren't saying, well, dude, I really need to be like the vice president of operations. Yeah. No, dude, he's willing to like die and bleed on the floor. He's not asking me if he can be the VP of operations.
Love it. Is there any, from your whole time doing this, let's get into, are there any just practical, I don't want to be too vague. Are there any practical lessons for young starting entrepreneurs?
It's just such a crazy ride. And then for everyone who's ever owned businesses, right? Like it's crazy hard and emotional. And like a lot of the times you hate it. More often than not, you hate it, right? You're like, what am I even doing? Like, this is insanely hard. My wife hates me. Like, I haven't seen my friends. My mom doesn't even hasn't talked to me in 4 months. Like you're away from your kids and you're doing, it's like, it's not all. So it's hard to like the motivational stuff. It's like, it's hard for me because it's so hard. Yeah. It's so like the rah stuff. I'm not the rah guy, no, right? Like I'm not Tony Robbins. So like it's hard. And if you have the balls to do it, then yeah, dude, jump into the deep end and like don't. But this generation has a hard time with jumping into the deep end. They like don't even want to jump into the deep end and bust tables.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's a different kind of mentality. And like I said, when you have examples of people that are older than you that like grabbed their balls and jumped into the deep end, it makes you feel like you can do it. But those examples are going further and further away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's hard, you know?
Well, so it's one thing that you said kind of stood out. You mentioned that during the acquisition, you said that it was changing other people's lives, and that decision is kind of what pushed you forward. So what are the things, if there's anything else, if that's it, what are the things that drive you? Like what you mentioned your weaknesses. Yeah. What are the strengths? What do you do good at?
I do good at winning.
He does more than that.
Maybe we should ask Mikey.
I hate losing. So that's really the driving force. I hate losing, and and then when you win, it's like, okay, cool, we won, and I like that, but I hate losing. So I don't know. I don't think I don't know.
I'll step in on this one.
Well, before Mikey steps
There's no way I'm going to sit here and say all the things I'm good at.
No,
so like,
I'm going to throw this out before you answer. I'm seeing a pattern. You basically committed. You jumped in, you committed, you dove in, went all in, and then you decide to win. And everything else is kind of a side detail. That's the pattern I'm seeing. So what are some of the things?
So Josh is an incredible leader.
Okay.
And it kind of goes back to the CEO role. I know it's like you don't want a title thing, but he's leading everyone. Yep. And especially like, and I listen to it all the time. There's so many ups and downs going through what he had to do, and he had to be the one that kept pushing people to continue to essentially, make it happen or whatever. It's like you have to have that leadership role to get people to believe in what you're doing beyond just an investor.
Definitely.
He's incredible at that.
Yeah.
And two, he like with St. Archer, right? When we got the first offer, it was low. It was not what we ended up selling for.
Yeah.
And he drove that price up so damn high. He is just really good at it. There's more than just winning. He has this gift to just tell a vision and have people like just want to be excited about it. You know, I think it's why raising money for him is easier than others. Yeah,
I think I coached water polo when I was 19, and then again when I was 22.
Did I tell you about this personality test I took?
No.
Oh, you got to take this thing, dude.
That'll be interesting.
I don't even know. They're like, you're crazy for sure. I don't even know. I don't need to see it in writing.
I'd be so curious actually to know what you're categorized. Yeah. I can't ever say that word.
Categorized.
Yeah. I wonder what it is.
I don't know. But when I was coaching, I say it running businesses is like coaching athletics. And I really loved coaching water polo. When I'm done with all this, I'm going to go back and coach water polo in San Diego in the local high school. And I miss it. And I think for me, that's where I learned a lot how to run a business. Cause you have 10 players and you're, some kids you can yell at. Some kids you got to like put your arm around them. Some kids you got to fire them up. Some kids it's like a calm speech. And like I learned that as a kid, like how to like specifically motivate each player to carry out my vision of what I saw in the pool. And really this is no different. So I think maybe I was just blessed to be in that situation of being able to coach. And that was like that was my college. That's the way I look at it. And then my MBA was St. Archer. Yeah. Like that was just kind of the school of hard knocks way to get there.
That's kind of exactly what we're looking for. That was really good. I'm gonna wrap it up, Mike. You got
wrap it up.
Else?
No, there's so many. It's funny, man. Just talking about there's so many like memories and stories to it all.
Man. And
there's some good ones.
Let's kind of say that though, man. I remember when you guys started St. Archer, it was like I can't fully describe it other than it was kind of magical. It was just really insane to watch it all happen and play out.
We did used to talk about that all the time though.
Yeah.
It felt special.
Yeah,
all
it
the time.
did. Yeah, it wasn't like we were so like immersed in it we didn't realize. You definitely realize. It was crazy. I remember being at Disneyland with my family and seeing a guy walk by me in a St. Archer shirt, and I went, we did it. We made it. First time I ever saw a primitive shirt, I called P-Rod, and I'm all, dude, I just saw a primitive shirt at Disneyland. He's like, I've been having it for years, dog. But that was like my bar. Like you see your apparel at Disneyland, you did it.
Yep.
And when I saw that, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so for anybody that is listening, go follow. It's at Villager Goods, right?
Yep.
Do we want them to follow you
I
personally?
was just about to say this because we always tell the audience how they could find you or get a hold of you. You're not getting any of that out of Josh.
All right. Hey, this is what we wanted. So this is like kind of the magic of AVNI. We want the entrepreneurs and what they've done. We want to interview them intimately and personally.
Yeah, we want the
it.
ones
so,
that no one can get.
No one can get, and that's what we got. So we're happy. So go follow at Villager Goods, and at Eric Bort. I'm just kidding, dude.
Look at just nailing it.
Anyways, yeah. So also, if you are watching on YouTube, leave us reviews on iTunes. Those are greatly appreciated. And remember, you can always listen on the go on iTunes, or you can watch it on your computer on YouTube. So, Josh, want to say a huge thank you.
Thanks,
We're
guys.
really excited to put this one out, man.
I'm looking forward to it. You can really watch it and all listen to those.
Yeah.
YouTube, iTunes, everything.
Yeah.
And they're all,
Man.
we're opening up more, but those are the primary ones.
Man, you guys are really doing it.
We're doing
I like it.
We're doing it.
I'm in. Where's my shirt?
Yeah,
I'll take a
seriously.
t-shirt.
I know. That's
There
another
we go.
conversation.
I want a t-shirt.
We'll have that convo after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll call that a wrap. Thanks, Josh.